Hey everyone, and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you're watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a ton of big news to brief you all on today. Today's date is October 3rd, 2025, and it's Friday. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and I hope you're all having a great day today, and I hope you're also ready for your weekend. It came up very quick. We've got a lot of news coming out from this war, huge news out of Ukraine and also in Russia. We're actually going to start out with a breaking news report out of Russia's Orenburg region, as we have information today that Ukrainian drones struck another oil refinery. Here's a picture of that refinery being attacked on your screen. So let's go over this report. Slavutych drones smash Russia's Orsk refinery, 1,400 kilometers from Ukraine's border. The refinery, one of the largest in Russia's Orenburg region, processes up to 6.6 million tons of crude annually and produces around 30 types of fuel and lubricants. So a pretty massive oil refinery located in the Orenburg region of Russia, just a little bit north of the border with Kazakhstan. We have reports today that potentially multiple Ukrainian UAVs struck this facility. I've got numerous videos to show you guys of direct impacts over there. We don't have any information as to whether there was a major fire or huge damage just yet, but we know it was attacked. And as you can see here in the photo, there is smoke coming from the facility after Ukrainian drones struck that place. So we're going to talk about that more here in just a minute. We also have lots of other breaking news coming out from Russia and Ukraine today. We have information that Russia's Azot chemical plant also came under attack and was directly struck by Ukrainian UAVs in the Perm-Krai Oblast. That's similar distance to where the Orsk refinery is located. I'd say somewhere between 1,400 and 1,700 kilometers is what's being reported today away from Ukraine's border. So huge hit on that chemical plant. I've got video footage of that today. Also, Ukrainian strikes were also reportedly carried out in Crimea on multiple Russian air bases. An electrical substation was also attacked. I've got video footage from an electrical substation today. No signs that it was actually attacked, but there's like Russian military troops kind of stationed around there, so possibly indicating that it was attacked. You'll see that here in just a moment. Also, the Russians launched a massive attack on Ukraine overnight. Over 300 drones and approximately 30 missiles were fired. Major damage reported to gas and energy facilities in central and eastern Ukraine. Yeah, we had a huge attack onto Ukraine overnight. Lots of videos coming out from there. Major destruction to energy and gas facilities. And again, that's something we've been talking about a lot recently. Also, reports of drones shutting down the major airport in Munich, Germany last night, along with drones spotted near a military base in Belgium. So these drone sightings are still ongoing inside of Europe. Who knows what's going on over here, but it's definitely getting very scary with all these drone sightings that are not stopping. This has been going on for, I want to say, close to 2 weeks now. So very crazy news, lots to cover. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. We're actually going to jump on over to a map real quick because unfortunately today we don't have a map from Drone Bomber, which typically shows the drones going into Russia, but we'll use Google Maps here just to kind of show you guys what's going on here inside of Russia and Ukraine. So we've got Ukraine right here. Here's Russian territory. We're going to start off with the Orenburg region, which is going to be right over here, closer to like central Russia, but on the southern side, just over the border from Kazakhstan, which would be down here. So we'll zoom in to the city of Orsk on the eastern side of the Orenburg region. And here it is. Here's the city of Orsk. And then on the northern side, we have the Orsk Neft Orgzentez. I might be butchering the name of that, but this is the oil and gas company that came under attack in a massive facility over here. Look at all these different oil storage tanks up here on this side. And then also we've got a bunch down here also. So somewhere here in the middle of the facility, is where we mainly had these attacks taking place. We're not sure exactly what was being hit yet, but as we can see, a pretty large facility and supplying gas and fuel for this southern region of Russia. We also have pictures coming out today that immediately after this thing came under attack, people were already lining up at gas stations to try to get fuel due to potential fuel shortages after this facility came under attack. So there it is for you, the Orsk Neft Orgzentez facility, this oil and gas industry facility located here in the city of Orsk in the Orenburg region. And then also a little bit north up here, this is going to be the Perm-Krai region, a pretty large region in central Russia where the Azot chemical plant was reportedly attacked over here. We'll be talking about that today also. And then aside from that, yeah, we did have reports of explosions down here in Crimea, a potential electrical substation that was attacked. Along with that, several air bases reportedly being attacked by Ukraine overnight as well. And then, yeah, aside from that, also over here, guys, inside of Germany and Belgium, these are where these two countries are located, where we saw drones again showing up inside of Europe. Usually we've been seeing them up here closer to like Denmark and southern Sweden, along with Norway. But overnight, no reports of any drones over here, mainly just Germany and Belgium. So I'll show you guys those reports as well. So lots of big news coming out. And then aside from that, huge attacks in Ukraine. We'll be discussing that today. Also, let's jump on to X now. With War Translated, video shows the moment a drone hit the Orsk Neft Orgzentez facility. We've got a 54-second clip. Look at all the people just panicking here as these drones are coming in, and then one eventually slams into the facility. Take a look.
Вон летит. Не снимайте, съебывайтесь отсюда, блядь. Сейчас он упадет, куда упадет, везде. Не снимайте, да дураки, ёпты. На центральную проходную летит. Еще один одного ждут. Еще два с Самары сейчас, говорит, идут. Большие. Еще два с Самары. Вот он направо пошел. Это маленький, еще два больших пошел. Сейчас, по-моему, уебет. Сейчас уебет бегом. Ебать! Ебать! Там еще один летит. Еще двое Самары, короче.
Okay, so pretty crazy video here, and shout out to War Translated for giving us some actual translation here on the screen. You guys can see the subtitles there. So if you notice at one point, they're talking about how 2 more drones were on the way coming from the Samara region. And yeah, so allegedly multiple drones were attacking this facility. And something to note here, if you take a look at that drone, that's actually a Slavutych drone that's used by Ukraine. And from what we understand, these drones only have approximately about 1,000-kilometer range on these. So I was hearing some reports that apparently the warheads on these were a lot smaller than what they typically were carrying. And then also they had extra fuel tanks on board, which allowed them to fly further into Russia. We usually don't see these drones attacking this deep. I mean, 1,400 kilometers pretty far. Usually these drones don't go much more than maybe 1,000 to 1,200 max into Russia. Here's another video. Special Kursin Cat, Russian oil refinery in Orsk, Orenburg region is currently under drone attack. Orsk oil refinery has a capacity of 6.6 million tons of oil per year and is located around 1,500 kilometers from the front line. Got another video here for you guys, 10 seconds. All right, just a quick clip, but we could see that Ukrainian Slavutych drone that was right over this tree, and it flew right in and slammed into the facility. So again, still waiting for more details. Maybe we'll get some information that a major oil processing unit was hit. That's usually what Ukraine has been going after recently when they attack these oil refineries. So we'll wait for more information on that. But again, huge hits by Ukrainian drones here on this facility today. Now, Max 25, there are already queues at gas stations in Orsk. So yeah, multiple pictures and videos coming out today showing people lining up at gas stations because clearly the word is spreading inside of Russia. People know that there's gas shortages ongoing all over the place. So these people are heading to the gas stations now to fill up, as maybe we're going to get some major information that the Orsk oil refinery gets shut down. We'll have to see if that's going to be the case. But if that does happen, it's going to cause fuel shortages over here for these people in the city of Orsk. So they're definitely concerned about that. They're already lining up to get fuel. Now, War Translated, it seems Russian propagandists are now floating the idea of a new SMO. That's a special military operation, this time in Kazakhstan. Okay, so we've got Russian propagandists here on Telegram. This one's in Russian, obviously, but we had it translated here. And it says, Orsk oil refinery was attacked by drones. The distance from the Ukrainian border to Orsk is 1,400 kilometers. It is perfectly obvious that the drones were launched from Kazakh territory. So the question is, isn't it time to carry out a raid into independent Kazakhstan to eliminate threats to Russia's national security? It would be best to conduct a sweep in Astana immediately. So Astana, I'm not sure if that's the capital, but it's a major city inside of Kazakhstan. Yeah, the Russians, at least this mill blogger here or propagandist, believes that maybe these drones were coming from Kazakhstan. Now, there have been reports in the past that the Russians were claiming that Ukraine was carrying out attacks. I think it was into the Orenburg region months ago, that there was like infiltration operations from Ukrainians coming through the Kazakhstan border. I'm not sure if that was the case, but yeah, apparently they believe these drones were coming from Kazakhstan, and now they're claiming they should open up a new special military operation and attack into Kazakhstan to clear out Ukrainians that might be over there launching drones, because they believe these drones were not coming from Ukraine, considering that a lot of these cannot reach this far. So that's why I was telling you guys, I think what's being reported today is these drones were carrying a much smaller warhead and also extra fuel on board, which allowed them to attack much deeper. But regardless, let me know what you guys think with these drones today, because it is definitely very interesting. Now, Visegrad 24, 1,500 kilometers from the border, Ukrainian drones attacked one of Russia's largest chemical plants, Azot in Perm. The plant produces components used for explosives. So we've seen Ukraine going after a lot of different chemical plants inside of Russia. It's been a while since they hit one. I want to say probably a month or two since the last time we heard of a chemical plant being attacked. But again, this time being in the Perm region, about 1,500 to 1,700 kilometers deep into Russia. And here's a picture coming out showing what looks like potentially two fires that broke out. There's one bit of smoke right here, then also another one that looks like an active fire that's burning right there. We've got video footage today now. War translated, Ukrainian drones reportedly struck the Azot chemical plant in Berezniki, Perm overnight. A short disruption to production was confirmed by local authorities. Explosions were heard near the facility, which stores ammonium nitrate. So explosives being used or produced here at this facility, or the chemicals that are used to make these explosives. Ukraine went ahead and struck it overnight. Take a look. All right, so at the time this information was breaking yesterday evening, some people were saying there was just a massive explosion that took place over here, but then later it was soon confirmed that it actually was Ukrainian Slavutych drones that were slamming into this plant. So we can see there with this video a direct hit from a Ukrainian drone onto the Azot chemical plant. So that's going to be another huge loss to the Russian military. Now, Ukrainian review: explosions in occupied Crimea at night. Strikes on Belbek and Kasha air bases confirmed, according to Ukrinform. That's going to be mainstream news out of Ukraine. Explosions also near Feodosia. So yeah, we're getting some confirmed reports that apparently we had two different military airfields used by the Russians that were attacked down in Crimea, the Belbek airfield and also Kasha military airfield. The Kasha airfield is one that has been attacked a lot recently. We know that a lot of radar systems and air defense systems have been destroyed down there. That's why Ukraine has been able to hit multiple aircraft. We've had some amphibious aircraft being destroyed down there, Russian helicopters, and apparently also strikes near Feodosia, which we do know in the city of Feodosia on the eastern side of the Crimean Peninsula, there's an oil depot that's located over there that was allegedly attacked over the last week. So that's what possibly Ukraine was going after there. So not sure 100%, on the strikes here. We're still waiting for more details on what was actually hit down here, but reports of explosions at this time. Now, Max 25, Crimea, Bakhchistare, if I'm saying that right. Also this night, UAVs attacked the traction substation ECHE-69, known as Siren. So here's video footage coming out showing an electrical substation that allegedly came under attack. And when I watched this video the first time, I was like, I don't see any fire or anything here. But we do see Russian military troops standing outside guarding this place. So I'm wondering if they're investigating because maybe there's a drone that crash landed over here after the fire was put out. Not sure yet, still waiting for more details, but allegedly we did have an electrical substation being attacked in Crimea as well. And we do know that the Ukrainians have been targeting a lot of these lately. Now, Visegrad 24, Ukraine just hit a number of Russian military vehicles that had pulled up to a gas station in the Luhansk region. Yeah, this came out last night also. Massive fire over here at allegedly multiple Russian military vehicles that were trying to get gas in the Luhansk region of Ukraine. This is going to be the occupied territory on the eastern side of Ukraine. Allegedly, there was a massive hit over here, most likely by drones, and we had destruction to some of these vehicles. You can actually see one of them right there that looks like a transport truck that is on fire, and I believe that is the roof right there of the gas station. So Crazy hit from Ukraine also over here in occupied territory held by the Russians. Now, Noel reports overnight Russia again attacked Ukraine with a combination of missiles and drones. Although the Air Force has not yet reported on the consequences, trajectories became known. The main focus of the attack was Poltava, Dnipro, Kharkiv region, as well as Sumy and Cherniv region. So it looks like a lot of the attacks were on the eastern and northern side of Ukraine overnight, and a lot of these areas have critical gas and energy infrastructure, especially in Poltava. Usually when we see Poltava coming under attack, it's usually gas facilities over there. So yeah, lots of reports of destruction. Even the major company D-Tech will be reporting here in just a moment for you guys, talking about hits on their energy sites. So yeah, energy facilities and gas facilities were heavily hit in Ukraine overnight, and again, this is something I've been telling you guys, and Volodymyr Zelensky's been warning about this, the president of Ukraine, that the Russians are trying to put Ukraine into the dark and also destroy their gas facilities to prevent them from being able to utilize gas for heating. As we know that winter is approaching very soon, and they want the Ukrainians to suffer and also force a faster collapse of Ukraine. You know, imagine if there's no power, no gas. That's not going to be good for the Ukrainians. So I'm pretty sure Ukraine's going to be responding to this major attack here very soon. Here's more information. Noel reports Russia launched its largest mass strike on Ukraine's gas production infrastructure since the full-scale invasion began. Naftogaz reports multiple facilities have been damaged, with some suffering critical destruction. So this is not good to hear, guys. I mean, while we have Ukraine attacking oil refineries and Russia's oil and gas facilities are completely collapsing, their industry is collapsing right now, we have these huge hits on energy sites inside of Ukraine. That's very dangerous, again, because if there's no power, people can't heat their homes. And, what are people going to do there? So it's definitely getting very crazy over here. And I mentioned just the other day, we're going to see a war on energy, and we're really seeing that right now. That's for the most part what Ukraine and Russia are both going after, is trying to destroy each other's energy facilities. So not good to see this over here. Now, Vicegrad 24 breaking. Russian suicide drones are striking the Ukrainian city of Poltava. I've got a 14-second clip here to show you guys massive drone hits in the city of Poltava overnight from the Russians. Take a look. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of gas facilities that are located here in the city of Poltava, and we've seen the Russians do this before. Usually when they attack Poltava, they use a lot of different drones and missiles to try to destroy these gas facilities located over here. So again, not good news to hear coming out from Ukraine. Hopefully they can get those repairs as quick as possible. All right, now from the Ukrainian Review. Update: 17 Shaheeds attacked a bottling plant in the Odessa region and destroyed 250,000 bottles of Asnari cognac, according to the CEO of the company. Very crazy news. Look at this. Here's a picture of all these bottles piled up here, and then we have a massive fire that broke out through that window. Also, 17 Shaheed drones slamming into this bottling plant, producing Asnari cognac. 250,000 bottles were destroyed. I believe that's a type of brandy, an alcoholic drink. And just crazy to see this. The CEO of the company was reporting this attack on this facility. It's probably going to be completely destroyed, and just yet again, more reports of critical civilian infrastructure inside of Ukraine being destroyed. Now, Kate from Kharkiv, around 13,000 pigs were killed in Kharkiv region in a Russian drone strike on an agricultural enterprise. Massive fire broke out, engulfing 8 pig housing facilities across a total area of 13,600 square meters. One employee was injured. Okay, so what is the significance of a agricultural farm? We've seen this numerous times inside of Ukraine, and I want to say many of them happen to be in the Kharkiv region where we see this. So 13,000 pigs, can you imagine that? All this meat just completely wasted here, and then on top of that, these were living creatures at one point, and I'm sure this facility had nothing to do with Ukraine's military, yet we had a massive attack over here also, at a huge fire that broke out, killing all these pigs, guys. Just absolutely horrible news. Now, UA Voyager, another Russian double tap. They shelled Poltava region and then launched rockets at the rescue workers who came to save lives. This is not war, this is terrorism. So yet again, another report of double tap strikes inside of Ukraine also, this time in the Poltava region where we had a lot of gas infrastructure being attacked last night. We had firefighters showing up here on the scene. You can see major damage. due to a double tap strike. And this is what the Russians do. They'll attack one area, and then the firefighters and rescue workers will show up to help people out. Soon after, they'll launch another attack again and try to eliminate these firefighters and rescue workers. So absolutely horrible news once again, guys. But there you go. I want you to see what the Russians are doing to the Ukrainians. Now, Max 25 in Shaska, Sumy region, Shahid strikes on energy facilities was recorded. The city was left without electricity. Yeah, lots of energy sites being attacked. Here's one directly inside the Sumy region up in northeastern Ukraine. Take a look.
Та це пізда нахуй. На, блядь. Уебало.
All right, so we can see just over this cornfield right there when that drone slammed in the facility. It looks like these power lines are running directly to some sort of electrical substation over here in the Sumy Oblast. So lots of reports today of power outages inside of Ukraine. We've been seeing a lot of this recently over the past few days, probably the last 3 days. The Russians are really going after a lot of energy sites, and they destroyed one here inside the Sumy region, so not good news there. Now, Spravdy Stratcom Center, the lack of reaction from Europe over Russia's drone attack on Poland last month has opened the floodgates. Munich airport was forced to suspend operations Friday night after unknown drones were detected in its airspace. 17 flights were canceled, 15 arrivals diverted to Stuttgart, Nuremberg, Frankfurt, and Vienna, and nearly 3,000 passengers affected. German police are searching the area for those responsible. Flights resumed around 5 a.m., but the incident is part of a wider trend. Last week, drones disrupted airports in Copenhagen and Oslo, and this week another was spotted near Brønnøysund, if I'm saying that right, in Norway. Drone threats to European airports are becoming a growing security concern. Yeah, what is Europe going to do about this at some point? I mean, we're seeing this happening everywhere. Now it's starting to happen in Germany. It was mainly up in Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. Now a lot of this is being reported inside of Germany. We had this major airport. I think this is the largest airport in Europe, actually, in Munich, that was being shut down due to drone sightings. So Europe is going to have to respond to this at some point. And who is doing this? Where are these coming from? We keep hearing that it could be Russian oil tankers in the Baltic Sea, but that has not been confirmed yet. And yet we're still seeing more of these airports being shut down due to these drones. Here's another report. Visegrad 24 breaking. Around 15 drones were spotted over a NATO military base in Belgium. According to reports, they were seen at approximately 1:45 a.m. local time over the Elsenborg Born military training area, NATO base in Liège province near the German border. A military official noted that the drones were detected during tests of drone detection systems. It is believed that the drones flew from Belgian territory across the border into Germany, where they were also spotted by police in the small town of Durin. Okay, so apparently these drones were inside of eastern Belgium, and then they started to travel into Germany. And that's also where we had in Munich, where the airport was shut down. So just again, what is going on here, guys? Why are these drones just flying all over the place, and where are they coming from? I mean, we happen to see that when these drones are invading airspace, it's typically near the Baltic Sea. So it really makes you wonder if these drones are being launched from ships. And if they're not, they've got to be operated by people that are in the inside of Germany, which is even more dangerous. That these are operatives that are on the ground inside of NATO nations. So very crazy news. Now, Visegrad 24, a Russian Shadow Fleet tanker detained by French authorities, has resumed its voyage. A tanker from Russia's Shadow Fleet detained by the French Navy was heading towards the Suez Canal Friday with its captain back on board. According to data from maritime websites and a source close to the case, the Boracay, blacklisted by the European Union for being part of Russia's sanctions-busting Shadow Fleet of aging oil tankers, has been linked to mysterious drone flights over Denmark last month. It has been boarded by French authorities on Saturday, and its captain and first mate detained. Okay, so yeah, we heard about this yesterday. I reported to you guys that this Russian oil tanker was detained off the coast of France. Okay, and they were investigating. They actually boarded it. Here's a picture of the French authorities on board that were investigating to see if this ship was involved with the drone sightings over Denmark over the last week or so. From what I understand, they weren't able to find anything because looks like they went ahead and let this ship go. But I do have more information on this today. Take a look at this report. Visegrad 24, the captain of a tanker linked to Russia's Shadow Fleet, will face trial in France, The Guardian reports. The trial is scheduled for February 2026. considering the crew's refusal to cooperate with authorities. Earlier, President Macron had connected the tanker to possible drone flights over Denmark. So it looks like even though we had these French authorities boarding the ship, maybe they weren't able to gain access to critical areas of the ship to search because maybe the crew was not allowing them to or whatever. So yeah, apparently that's why they went ahead and just let this ship go. Maybe they're going to investigate further later down the road. But again, I believe they did not find any evidence of these drones being launched from this ship or anything like that. So still no confirmed evidence that this is Russia doing this yet. So there's just a lot of speculation that Russian ships are launching these drones, but we're still waiting for more information on this. So pretty insane story there. Now Ozen Defender, the commander of United Kingdom Space Command, or UKSC, Major General Paul T. Tedman, has told the BBC that Russian satellites have been consistently stalking British military satellites in orbit, while ground-based systems in Russia have been attempting to jam UK and NATO satellites on a near-weekly basis, adding that the activity has dramatically increased since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. They're interested in what we're doing and flying relatively close. They've got payloads on board. They can see our satellites and are trying to collect information from them, Tedman said, adding that Russia and China have both tested anti-satellite weapons, with the UK and the US having warned that Russia has been developing the capability to put nuclear weapons in space, able to be used against satellites or launched back to Earth. So very scary news here. We've been hearing about this over the past couple days, that the Russians have been stalking British satellites in space with their own satellites, apparently. We've also heard these reports about a year ago, I want to say, that the Russians were deploying some sort of satellites in space that could have nuclear weapons attached to them that they could use to deploy against other satellites and destroy them, or potentially, according to this report, even launch these nukes back to Earth coming from space. And imagine how difficult that could be to intercept if Russia were to launch a nuclear weapon from space, or for that matter, really any nation. But yeah, we continue to hear more reports about this, that there's lots of activity in space with Russian satellites that are harassing other satellites from the UK right now. Now, no reports. Orban bending under pressure. Hungary has just signed its biggest liquefied natural gas deal ever with France's Engie, covering 5% of annual demand from 2028 to 2038. This follows a Shell deal last month for another 2.5%. Despite loudly defending Russian gas, Budapest is slowly diversifying after Trump urged an end to Russian oil purchases. Here's a report today from Reuters. Hungary buys gas from France's Engie, diversifying supply from Russia. Yeah, so I don't think the Hungarians are completely cutting themselves off just yet from Russian liquefied natural gas, but they're starting to diversify, which is a good step in the right direction. We do know that Hungary is very pro-Russian, and they've not been wanting to give up buying gas and oil from Russia. But we know that Trump has been putting pressure onto Orban. He did state, Trump stated to reporters just a few days ago that he'd be talking to Viktor Orban to see if he can get him to stop buying gas from Russia. And it looks like the Hungarians are making some moves right now, so that is very good to see. Now for Bliskovka, the mayor of Slavutych, Yuri Fomichev, reported that the situation in the city is difficult but under control. He denied rumors about a shortage of food and fuel. There is food, water, and bread in stores. There is enough fuel at gas stations, although there are queues for gas. Fomichev also added that residents will be provided with stoves and firewood if necessary, and urged the townspeople to stick together and remain calm. So we know the city of Slavutych up in the Kiev region on the northern side of Ukraine is out of power right now. People are trying to remain calm over there, and this was a report from the mayor of that city. Just a couple days ago, the Russians attacked some energy infrastructure over here, knocking out the power to approximately up to 300,000 people or more in these areas. And we also had power loss at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, which was very dangerous at the time, but after 3 hours, they were able to get the power back on. So apparently they're still struggling without power over here in this town of Slavutych after this attack. So this was just an update from the mayor over there. Hopefully they get the power back on soon. Now, Max 25, Europe is preparing for war with Russia. The time frame within which the Russians could attack the Baltic states is estimated to be several years, according to BBC News. Yeah, BBC News was reporting today that Europe is getting ready for war with Russia. Now, this is something we've heard so many times. I've reported this to you guys a lot. right? But we keep hearing that potentially in the next few years, maybe by 2030 at the latest, we could see a massive war between NATO and Russia. And again, this is just something that BBC was reporting today, that over the next several years, we could see a major war, and Europe is getting ready for it right now. Now, NOAA reports. Despite growing Ukrainian interest, the U.S. is unlikely to supply Tomahawk missiles due to inventory constraints and Navy priorities, three sources say. Instead, Washington may push European allies to step in with other long-range systems. Here's a report. U.S. Tomahawk missile shipments to Ukraine unlikely, sources say. Yeah, so I'm thinking it is going to be highly unlikely that Ukraine receives Tomahawks. Maybe they will, but I'm thinking they probably won't, because if you look at what's happening down near Venezuela right now, if you guys have been hearing, at any moment the U.S. is going to start launching attacks down there. It looks like they might be searching for a regime change against Nicolas Maduro down there to remove him from power, and this is all due to what the U.S. is saying is a fight on drug cartels. They declared war on them. I think it was just yesterday. So I think we're going to see an attack down there very soon, and they're going to be using Tomahawks to strike inside Venezuela if that war kicks off. So I think, most likely the U.S. is going to want to allocate those for their own needs and not give them over to Ukraine. But there's a lot of other long-range systems that can be given to Ukraine from Europe. We'll see if that'll be the case down the road. Now, Max 25, UK is already helping Ukraine launch long-range strikes on Russia, according to the Financial Times. Ukraine is expanding cooperation with NATO in intelligence and long-range strikes. Britain is already involved in operations against Russia at the request of Washington. So this was very big news today that allegedly the UK is already involved with helping Ukraine carry out long-range attacks onto Russia. So I wonder if they're giving them their own missiles. I mean, Ukraine does have like the Storm Shadow, but there could be other types of missiles that the UK is giving over to Ukraine as well. And maybe they're going to be the ones that really helping out Ukraine to carry out these long-range strikes here very soon, which we keep hearing could be starting any minute. Here's another report now, Max 25. Macron promised that France would assist Ukraine with long-range strikes against Russia. It says, quote, "We reaffirmed and were able to do so in a more limited format with President Zelensky, our support for Ukraine and our readiness to continue providing concrete assistance in the area of drones and long-range missiles." Okay, this is big news also. So we're hearing that the UK is already helping out Ukraine with long-range attacks inside of Russia, but apparently France is going to be doing the same. So I have a feeling France and the UK will be supplying some missiles over to Vladimir Zelensky and Ukraine, and they'll be utilizing those for deep strikes inside of Russia. So that's very big news there. Now, Max 25, Putin is testing NATO and attempting to undermine it from within, according to The Economist. He is waging a gray zone campaign against NATO, cheap, provocative, and calculated actions aimed at destabilizing Europe while stopping short of open conflict. Here's a report. Vladimir Putin is testing the West and its unity. NATO must resist Russia's efforts to corrode it from within. So let me know what you think about this report from The Economist today. Do you think that Putin is testing NATO and trying to undermine NATO from within? I mean, with all these drones flying all over the place and NATO not really responding, these incursions into NATO airspace with drones and aircraft, lots of provocative actions coming from the Russians, and so far NATO's not responding at all. Do you think that Putin is trying to do this, trying to undermine NATO from the inside? Maybe that's possible that the Russians are doing that, but we're still waiting for confirmation on certain things like these drones and they're flying over sensitive military sites and airports inside of Europe. So it's definitely getting very crazy over there. Let me know what you think about that one. Now for military news UA, during the night, the Ukrainian military shot down 303 out of 381 Russian UAVs, 12 out of 21 Iskander-K cruise missiles, 0 out of 7 Iskander-M or KN-23 ballistic missiles, and 5 out of 7 KH-59/69 guided aircraft missiles. So yeah, huge attack onto Ukraine overnight, 416 munitions in total, 381 of those being drones, and then the rest were all missiles going into Ukraine. And again, from what we reported today, lots of gas and energy infrastructure inside of Ukraine being destroyed overnight. Very sad to hear about that, but good news to see that a good majority of these drones were shot down and they actually destroyed some of these missiles as well. But if you notice here, no ballistic missiles were being destroyed overnight, and we have been seeing reports that apparently a lot of these ballistic missiles are being upgraded by the Russians right now, and Patriot interceptors are not working to shoot these down due to these upgrades from the Russians. So we're probably going to be seeing more of these ballistic missiles striking inside of Ukraine and not being shot down. Now, Kyiv Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of October 3rd, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. And here we go, Russia's losses as of October 3rd, 970 troops, 1 AFV, 44 vehicles and fuel tanks, 1 tank, 13 artillery systems, 273 UAVs, 1 MLRS, and it looks like that is it. So very low numbers again today, just like yesterday. 1 multiple launch rocket system, we've been seeing about 1 or 2 of these per day. That's about average. But artillery systems, I think yesterday this was at 14, if you guys remember, only 13 today, so very low numbers on these. Usually see about 30, sometimes 40 there. 1 tank and 1 AFV, very low numbers here for these tanks and AFVs. And then aside from that, 44 vehicles and fuel tanks, those are very low also. We've been seeing right about 30 or 40 over the last day or two here. Then aside from that, troop loss is still about average. We've been seeing right around 950 or so, I'd say, for several weeks now. So guys, I want to thank you very much for tuning in for today's update on October 3rd, 2025. And I hope you guys all have a great Friday out there. Enjoy your weekend as well. I will be here again tomorrow. And then Sunday, most likely I won't be, as usually I'm off on Sundays. Just want to give you guys a heads up on that. So thanks so much for tuning in. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.